Today, I'm sharing with you one of my most successful students that I've had since 2019. He went from in college at North Carolina A&T to dropping out to knocking doors for Spectrum, then also to phone services. Now a full-time real estate investor. This is his story.
What's good, bro? I got to go home.
You're good.
I got to change clothes. Y'all can't put me on the camera.
This is amazing.
Bro, I needed
this is
this.
absolutely amazing, bro.
Listen, bro,
Yeah.
I needed this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely.
Yo, so look, so this is where you work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is the Hutchinson Group office.
Hey, I love it. I love it. That's what's up. Now tell us a little bit of like what all you do, because I know there's different avenues of all the things that you do.
Right here, well, the most important thing that I do here for me is real estate. This is my office where people meet for all my real estate deals, and I do a little marketing here for that.
That's for sure. Does it like help you like close deals whenever you tell people that you're coming to an office? Because you know a lot of people don't have an office.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I always throw in, hey, meet me in my office.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime they come, and I always tell people, anytime they come to the office, like they getting closed. Because yeah, they getting closed always. But show us a spot, man. What's your vision for everything?
So one of my current endeavors or new endeavors is literally turning this office space into some of the rooms into a
That's what's up.
podcast room, a media room. I want to help other brands do their
For sure.
marketing and get their point of view across.
For sure. And get your brand out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have a point of view, a lot to say, and because podcasting is so important and it's become so popular as a media outlet.
For sure.
I do want to spearhead and help young people in my community
Yeah.
do just that.
I think young people need to know that it's cool to have an office. You know what I mean? Like, I think, you know, like my sister and you know, people that are 10 years younger than us, you know, they stuck in COVID. They stuck in front of the computer. Well, the computer and games already had them, and then COVID set them down in the seat. Yeah, so I think the reason why I have an office is because like it's cool to have an office. Like I'm a businessman.
I'm a
you know,
businessman.
Exactly. So I love it, yo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's check it out.
Cool.
Yeah, we're
All
good.
right.
This is awesome. Now, and so I noticed this door is closed, so somebody's working in here.
Yeah, my mom. Actually, that's my mom's office right there.
What does she do exactly?
She's currently hard at work. She's a case manager right now for an organization that helps house homeless people. I like to brag on her. She actually helped house 52 homeless people last year.
That's awesome.
That's providing assistance in getting them in the home and taking them through the entire process, re-entering them in housing. A lot of these people have fallen on hard times, from single mothers to even drug addiction, helping these people rehabilitate.
So it's like government contracting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Woo! I'ma close this door because my office is a little.
I love it. I love it.
So I'm gonna take you guys to my bread and butter. I worked on this space for a long time. It didn't look anything like this. Excuse the boxes in here, but
all
this
good.
is the larger space
It's lit.
that I would like to have as a podcast room, a media room. I even have an idea for artists to come here and do small live sessions, maybe with a small audience here. But we do like live, like kind of like
gonna have to do a meetup.
MTV.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
used
do a meetup, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. MTV used to do the Unplugged.
Yeah.
I want to actually do that in this space. So, you know, it's a work in progress right now, but soon come.
That's what's up. So potentially, it sounds like you're running your real estate business here. Your mom is actually doing her housing business here, and you're gonna help other creators here. Like when you have all of those things working pieces, I guess you're gonna be generating some income.
Got to.
You know, yeah, I love it. That's what's up.
Well, as I've learned, what I'm trying to do is actually stop paying the bills and let the businesses pay the bills for me.
That's what's up. What's up, guys? It's your boy, Sawan Belcher. This is me taking action on Instagram and YouTube. And today I got one of my guys, Kendrick.
Oh, man. Great.
This man is awesome. And if this is you guys' first time joining the channel, I promise you, stay a little while. It's gonna be an amazing show today. Well, first of all, introduce yourself, brother.
Kendrick Hutchinson. I'm from a little town, Rockingham, North Carolina. We're definitely on the map. We have a few things that allow people to know where this point is.
On the way to Myrtle Beach.
On the way to Myrtle Beach. We have a race, a drag strip, a raceway.
That's for sure.
And a few other things. But what I pride myself in is being from this small town. It definitely gives you drive. It definitely gives you hustle. Because you got to make it out.
That's okay. See, this is cool. So I like that you started here. So I'm from Plymouth, North Carolina. So from Plymouth to Greensboro, I guess that's about 4.5 hours. In Plymouth, I think we graduated to 3 stoplights now. I think we got 3 stoplights.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So, when I associate myself with Plymouth, I think small town. I think comfortable. I think people only go there when they're running away from something to reset. I don't think growth there. So what made you think like Rockingham? Like you said so many great things about Rockingham just now. That's what pushes you. What about being in a small town like helps push you?
Well, I think initially as a teen, it was the things that you hear first of anything. Because when you hear things, they plant seeds, and
What kind of things would you hear?
Well, this town has no opportunity. There's no opportunity here. There's nothing here. There's nothing to do. There's nothing.
Yeah.
But that nothing is actually what creates something in you. And for me, it was like, okay, I got to get away. That's what they tell you. They preach to you.
Yeah.
You just got to get away from here. And that very thing that made me get away is what ultimately brought me back.
Yeah.
But along that time, I realized that it wasn't that I necessarily had to get away. I had to change my perspective.
Right.
I had to get some information.
For sure.
And then I had to feed where I had come from with that perspective and information so that, those that come behind us
For sure.
don't have to feel that way.
I love it. I love it. So we met in Greensboro.
We did.
I'm pretty sure we was at T at the same time.
It was quick for me because
for sure.
School, I don't know what it was, and I don't get me wrong, I made great grades in school. I just felt like, I think because I knew what I wanted to do as a child, like I had real big dreams as a child. I didn't see myself needing school. I knew I was an entrepreneur. Had proven businesses as a teenager, I'm like, hey, what is the schooling for?
Right.
I will say that we all go through the desire of the credential.
Yeah.
And for some fields and for some people, school is necessary. School is required.
For sure.
I think we all should be following our calling in life,
For
our
sure.
purpose. And so, what have that be? I don't, denounce college and school, for those that it would really help. We're gonna always need doctors, nurses, judges, and things like that. But for me, I had really made a decision that after about a year or so, and then trying again, you try again.
Of course.
Mid-20s.
Why'd you try again? Was it for yourself or was it for someone else?
It more so was probably for someone else because the older I got,
sure.
once I'm 23, 24, 25, I'm dead set knowing what I want to do.
Right.
But it was just that, hey, that still,
Right.
Our age group, we were trained, go to college, get a degree, get an education. And I think it had been embedded in my head so long that I still got to try to get the credential, which is nothing wrong with it. I even told myself, it's just going to be funny. I even told myself, now I think I want to do it just because now that I have, I got to make the time for it.
For sure.
But for those who feel like there's nothing other than that, that's just a myth. It's just not true. And
so you drop out of college.
Leave
right?
college completely.
Yeah. Are you staying in Greensboro at that point? Or are you leaving then?
Yeah, I'm living in Greensboro. I work for AT&T. So what got me straightened out as a young, I think I was maybe like 18, 19 when I started working there. that was my introduction to corporate America. I worked in a call center, and I had always, as a child, I grew up, my granddad wore a suit and a tie to work every day. He was an insurance man. And so from a child, that was one of those things, those examples that I had of, you know, I want to go to work, wear a suit every day. This is what I want to be.
Yeah.
And so when I got the introduction to working at this call center, I met a lot of great people, a lot of great relationships that I still have to this day. But it taught me understanding corporate America, understanding structure in business, how large corporations work, and the things at the bottom that makes a company that we normally don't even pay attention to, especially when we work for a company.
For sure.
We go about our business when we clock out.
For sure.
And then when you become an entrepreneur,
right,
self-employed,
right,
you understand.
You look back on those things.
You look back on those things, and they teach you so much. And so I started working at AT&T as a basic entry-level call center rep very early on.
How long did you work there?
7 years. I worked there 7 years, and every day for 7 years, I wanted to be the head person in charge. And so I went after all of the new pilots, anything that would come up new, any new team, any new, anything. I would be the part of the group that was spearheaded. I made an entry to supervisory positions and management positions very early on. And I had a lot of encouragement from managers, people that look like myself.
Oh yeah, that's one of the benefits of a team.
Absolutely.
Working with those big companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They pushed me like, hey man, you know, you're good at what you do. You got a gift. And so I worked really hard where I was. I know I used to have a lot of people that, because I had already, you know, gotten school out my mind, I had a lot of people that worked there that had actually went to T. Yeah. And the first thing that they would talk about is, oh, I ended up here, oh, this ain't my, and you know, one thing that I was taught is you do the best you can where you are.
For sure.
And so where I was at that moment was, hey, this is where I am. I'm gonna try to be the top person in here.
Right.
I mean, I'm 21, 22 at that point. 21, 22. And working there introduced me to a lot of people, but it also introduced me to what really changed the game for me as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that was when I got into repairing phones.
Repairing phones, okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, continue.
Well, when I got into repairing phones, I think it was 2008, and that was the second iPhone had come out. It was the third generation iPhone, second gen, third gen, 2008. And although I worked in a call center, we didn't deal hand in hand with phones. I dealt with, you know, large corporate accounts and things like that. This phone, you know, you remember in 2008, that phone was like a game changer just in the world.
For sure. Oh yeah.
At the time, AT&T, they owned the phone exclusively.
Yeah.
They were the only company that sold it. There was no insurance. There was no one that really repaired those phones. There was no insurance claims. There were no, phone repair companies on every corner like it is now. There wasn't even YouTube wasn't,
Right.
I transitioned into phone repair when I had bought that phone and I broke it. I happened to drop it, and I had a guy that was he was like my big brother at the time, Tay, shout out Tay.
Yeah.
I broke my phone, and I never forget one day, he used to talk to me like, he used to say just little vague little stuff like, I was like, hey man, you know somebody that can fix this phone? And he was like, nah, he was like, but knowledge is power, little bro. Like, he would say something like that, it would make me think. And so one day, after a lot of research, it was crazy. Like,
but that gives you the idea though, like, hold on.
And so he opened me up to figuring it out, how to do it myself. And I remember going on eBay, buying a little kit, and really just taking that phone apart, scared, because those phones were like $600, they were worth like $600 at the time.
Oh yeah.
Taking it apart and finally figuring out how to fix that screen.
Yeah.
And that changed my life. That actually is, I would say, the one thing as to, other than God, my mother, my praying mother.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sitting here today, even in this a whole different business. that opened me up to being who I am, standing on my own, like my business. That gave me my business sense.
Yeah, so this was like a big deal.
This was a big deal because, like I said, there wasn't a phone repair store on every corner. No one knew how to do this stuff, and I worked in a call center with, I worked in a call center with about 600-700 other people between two buildings, and so word travels fast.
Right.
I became the person that, hey,
Right.
I heard you know how to fix these phones.
Right.
And when I realized, like, you know, even as a child, I was like, money drive, like, okay.
Right, for sure. Money motivation.
Yeah, and it motivated me, and I became like, you know, one of the go-to guys. I had another guy that I worked with, Terrell, and I'm mentioning these people's names because they were big brothers to me, a part of my journey. So it's very important to me. He knew how to fix them. He knew how to fix them too, and we like used to tag team and kind of. We went through the whole call center. People would walk up. I would be sitting at my desk, and people walk up like, "Hey, can you fix this?" And I would take it home, you know, fix it, bring it back. And people were so amazed. And sometimes I would just show off, open the phone up right there, and let people see, you know, the intricacies of those phones.
How much were you making doing that?
On average, a repair, you talking about $80 to $100 each one. You know, I mean, you start advertising those services on Craigslist. At the time, there was no, you know, Facebook Marketplace.
For sure.
Like definitely Craigslist was my go-to. I would probably make, on average, outside of working a job, an extra $500 a week.
Nice.
And at, you know, 20,
For sure.
21.
For sure.
And in 2008. Now,
Significant.
You know, that's significant back
That's significant,
then, outside of working, you know, making maybe $35,000, $40,000 a year anyway. But what that also opened me up to was that there was a whole nother market. You didn't just have to fix people's phones. You could buy them broken.
Right.
You could fix them.
Right. And resell
and you
them.
could resell them.
Right.
And, you know, I had been on eBay as a child so long already.
For
and
sure.
so those were the things that started to change my perspective on, like, you know, like, oh, this is business.
Right.
This is what it's like.
So now you're making $40,000, $50,000 on a side hustle.
Absolutely.
And then how much was AT&T paying you?
Maybe somewhere around 30 to 35 a year.
So essentially, you have replaced your 9-to-5 income on the job.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's a little different. It's a little different now because I guess you're spending 8 hours at AT&T, and then how much time are you spending on the side hustle?
People would text me, call me. I would set up, and this is so crazy because before I, you know, like I said, I was rather young, so I didn't know much about going and renting a brick and mortar business or a building. But the apartment complex that I lived in, they had this really nice like office building that they had, or the building that they would allow after hours for all of the tenants to come in. I mean, they got snacks everywhere, pool tables, they got just everything you need. That became my store. I'm like, when people, and you know, it felt good because I had gone from meeting people at McDonald's to fix their phone, meeting people at Burger King's and everywhere, Walmart's, and to, hey, this is my business address, and people would pull up, text, hey, it looks like I'm at an apartment. Yeah, walk in this door, they could sit down, go on a computer, I fix their phones, and the referrals that they would bring more back, other phones, and then, you know, I would let them know, hey, I buy these too, I do, you know, this and that.
Oh yeah.
And it's a pitch, you know, all in one. So.
Oh, it sounds like you learned sales.
Man, listen, I definitely learned sales during that time because I would buy broken phones and just like cars, you buy a rundown car. If you're a mechanic, you know what to do to it. You know where you're. So I would buy them, and I found out that rather than repairing phones, I would immediately offer people like, hey, well, you know, I can buy this phone from you if you like. I can give you this much in cash. And it turned into people saying, hey, you know what? Okay, that's what I'll do. Because I knew that once I fixed it and I put it on eBay, it was going for a way higher number.
For sure.
I'm putting it on Craigslist. And I'm meeting so many people from so many different walks of life. And especially, you know, Greensboro is like an international melting pot.
It is. It is. Once you get connected to the right couple of people, you instantly in like 100 different gates.
Yeah. And so from that point on, I met so many people and did enough business with a lot of people to where one day I ran into a guy and he had a pizza shop in Asheboro, and he seen that I had phones that I had been selling on Craigslist, and he was like, "Hey man, I buy in bulk."
Nice.
And
now business to business versus business to consumer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when he gave me that, I'm like, "Oh, you buying bulk?" I'm still kind of young. What you mean you buying bulk? Okay. Oh, and he gave me a sheet, and
Told you how much you pay
for each phone already, from what condition it's in to whether you got a box, accessories, etc. He gave me a sheet, and now, boom.
Oh, this was the turn up.
This was the
turn up.
This is the turn up that really made me say, "Oh, I don't really got to repair phones anymore." There's someone that'll buy them broken, locked. Whatever condition, they'll be purchased. And if I can get them low enough, I don't have to spend my time.
Right.
I started to go to businesses and tell them, "Hey, I own this company," which I was a small young guy, but hey, I own this company, we buy phones. I would even sometimes act like, "Hey, I'm just a acquisition manager."
Yeah, for a company.
For
Nice.
a company.
Nice.
Hey, we buy, if there's a large company and they provide cell phone service for their employees, everyone's upgrading a year or two.
Right.
And people buy phones 30, 40 at a time. And
Right.
where I got this from, the idea, I'm sitting in my apartment one day and I said, "Hey, I work for AT&T. I don't deal with regular consumers. I deal with large business accounts. So when we would get calls, I only talk to like what they would call telecom managers and AOPs, the decision makers for these large companies like Hewlett Packard,
Yeah.
where they have 3,000 phones on this one account. Well, those companies, when they upgrade, they just got the new phone last year.
Right.
Well, here's 1,000 phones
Right.
here. And if you're getting good with this one company that gets rid of their phones every year, that's 1,000 phones.
Right.
And those companies, they're not in the phone business, so they're not looking to make anything.
Right.
They're normally going to give them away. But if
Right.
I plant this seed, like, "Hey, look, I could give you $100 per phone,"
Right.
I quote them a price like that, and my guy's paying $500 per phone.
Right. Amen.
Amen.
I love it.
Amen.
I love it. Entrepreneurship is a thing. I love it.
Absolutely. So that's what transitioned me from phone repair to I'm selling phones. And I already had a knack for the wireless industry. I had grown to love the wireless industry, so I started doing things. And I had a storefront, ended up with a storefront in Greensboro, activating service, unlocking phones, just my knowledge that I had gained over time. I wanted to still apply that, but what really changed my life was that phone repair led me to learning other sides of the business and taking me into, hey, you could sell anything.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I love that whole process of learning how to sell, because I always tell people I am who I am now because of everything that I went through. So I wouldn't change nothing. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. Because coming in at the dealership, under the people that I was in at that particular time was all the way right, because of all the things that I went through and all the things that I learned. And it sounds like something pretty much about the same for you. Now, before we talk about how you got into real estate investing, I want to talk about real quick how we met. Okay, how we met, because I honestly think it's powerful. I couldn't remember the exact details, but I figured I'd hear from you. When we met at the car dealership at Honda, I can't remember what happened. I really can't. I was just telling Isaiah about it outside. I don't remember what happened. I just know it wasn't good.
It wasn't good.
But I was having a great day, so it didn't affect me. What happened?
And it's so crazy because
we can laugh about it now.
No, of course. I just realized the time frame has actually been over 10 years. It's probably around over 10 years ago.
Legit over 10 years ago.
Yeah. And so what happened was, at the time, I went to the car dealership with a girlfriend, or I was kind of frustrated with the car buying process.
For sure. Because we're extremely aggressive, and just to set the tone, the leadership at the car dealership extremely aggressive. I mean, there is the customers don't care, the sales managers don't care, and the general manager doesn't care about any of it but putting deals on the board.
Absolutely.
Okay, and when you put a deal on the board, if it didn't have profit, the finance manager came back and forced profit. And then we celebrated it at the end of the day, how much, how aggressive we were. I mean, it was so aggressive that on my first week, I remember Chami, we're doing childish things because we're all young. How you dunk on somebody in the door, and, you kind of put your leg on them. What I mean? I wasn't for that. I body slammed them on the floor in the car dealership. That's how aggressive they were training us to be. And so that, just to give you guys the setting that we're in, and when they pushed you, now that you told me, the beginning, when they pushed your girlfriend to AC, who's the most aggressive salesperson, and you come in, being the boyfriend, it's like, yo, what are we even doing here?
Yeah.
I could see, I honestly, after you told me that out there, I was like, I could honestly see, why you might have been having an upset day.
And it wasn't even, and what I will say is, I was probably in a stage, a phase of my life. Actually, I'm gonna tell you why.
Yeah.
I'd actually gotten fired.
Yeah.
From AT&T. When I got fired from AT&T, I was probably about 25 years old.
Yeah.
And I went from wanting to be just this corporate guy, working for someone else, under someone else's umbrella, wanting to be this suit and tie guy, realizing just how quickly they got rid of me for something that was just so like, hey, what are we doing here? And I won't talk about the details.
For sure.
If I knew what I knew, if I knew then what I know now,
right,
I would have sued AT&T, but that's neither here nor there. It's all good. They still pay me, actually.
Amen.
I'm still making money off AT&T. So.
Amen. That's what's up.
But I was like 25, and I don't know where you were at 25, but like for me at 25, and I realize I talk to a lot of 25-year-olds now, you're in that space where you're like, oh, I'm about to be 30. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm stressed out. Oh, so I probably had, and my mom would probably say, like, I had probably gotten a little mean.
Yeah.
I had kind of become like, and what it was is I had allowed life's stresses to really get the best of me.
For sure.
And then, I was a little frustrated with my girlfriend at the time. And so me also, I'll even say that, I won't say maybe knowing it all, but I didn't want to go through the traditional process because I'm like, hey, we came here with a check.
Right.
Don't talk me to death. This woman
You're a salesperson.
This woman's already, my nerves. And I think what happened is they sent you, and you being a young gentleman that you were, you just came and you just asked some basic questions. And I don't know what I was going through that day. And I was like, yo, dog, what are you talking about right now? I don't want to talk. What's the price of the car? Is it this number? Because if it's not this number, we out of here.
Yeah.
And I was rude, and I've apologized to you.
It's all good. You already apologized off camera years ago.
Years ago.
I just couldn't remember what happened. Because like I said, I was in such a good mood at that time, and I had been through so much after that, that it didn't faze me at all. And honestly, our relationship is like way stronger than it was. So I didn't even, but now I do remember, because I had just sold 2 cars and I was actually chilling for the day. I wasn't trying to do nothing. And AC is the kind of guy that, sell 4 cars, and the dealership will do a bunch of favors for us. So they wanted me to do him a favor and help deliver the car and sign you up. And anyway, I love that. It was such a good time.
Yeah,
it was such a good time.
And what happened is, I do remember. So that happened. I don't know I know she ended up buying a car from Honda, but I don't know. So fast forward, I ended up buying a Dodge.
Yeah, the Dodge Charger.
Yeah.
The black one.
Yeah, and so it was about 5 years later, and I had changed. I had calmed down.
For sure. You was definitely more mature at that point.
I had learned a lot to keep myself sane, and because we do life, we do go through things.
For sure.
And I remember routine oil change. I had just got my new Charger, and I pull in.
It was a nice one too.
It was like the new one.
Yeah.
And I got blessed with that car too. A great deal I found from a private seller.
For sure.
And I brought it in for an oil change, and I looked around the corner. I'm like, hey, that's my man from over. Hey, what's up? And I remember being so reluctant because so much had changed.
Yeah.
And I had gone through so much that I wanted to greet you with a smile. And I was like, man, I hope he don't remember. Man, I hope he don't remember that interaction.
Yeah.
And I really don't think you did. I think because we immediately talked, we hit it off and was like, hey, yeah, such and such and such. And you remember that's that day we had the conversation about the trucking industry.
The trucking industry, yeah.
And that I had just done all, getting into the trucking industry. And we kind of meshed from there, and that's how we kind of started all over again.
For sure, yeah, because I was doing my best to get out. And when I went to Dodge, I had already quit Honda, but my faith got weak after about 9 or 10 months. My faith had got weak, so I was at Dodge for maybe 3 months. Maybe. So you just caught me at the right time, which is how God works.
Absolutely.
Which is how God works.
Absolutely.
And so I was sharing with you how the trucking business was going at the time. But I think you could tell that I was having more fun. I was more interested.
Absolutely.
I was making more money with the truck at that time, but I have more passion about what I was doing with the real estate than the trucking company. And so I think you caught flame. I think you caught flame to that. I think I was even telling you that, like, I'm about to get up out of here.
And that's you were because I remember you were telling me, like, hey man, I had to get in the trucking industry, but every time I would come up there and visit you, because we started talking on a regular basis, and every time I would come up there and talk, you were never talking about cars. Or I would call you, like, hey man, you at the dealership? And he's like, nah man, I'm going to the bank right quick to get this check for this real estate deal. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know this dude sell a lot of cars, and he just keep talking about real estate. And it wasn't at that moment, but it planted a seed, and it was like, real estate. And I like to focus on one thing at a time. So
Amen.
I was really trying to get into the trucking industry.
Amen.
I had used the cell phone business. I had saved a lot of money, and I knew, like, hey, I'm prepared to really get into this. And shout out to Sawan for helping with my trucking authority.
Right.
Selling me a truck at Dodge for, a dually. If they know what those prices were back then.
Right.
With the trailer and everything. I mean, helping me A to Z. So
for sure.
I'm very.
I was killing everybody with that. Anybody that wanted a dually for car hauling, I was like, yo, let's get the trailer all in it. In it. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And so as time went by, I ended up, I knew that I wanted more. I think I turned 30 that year. In fact, I was turning 30 that year. And I was in that point in my life where I'm like, I need to do something that fulfills me. I had been in Greensboro. I had made, a lot of money, humbly speaking.
Yeah.
I had just worked so hard to be in a position that I was in. And I got to that point where you make enough money and you realize, like, you need something else to really feel.
Right.
You gotta really love what's going on around you, because
sure.
money just not gonna do it.
For sure.
And that's when I had developed that true desire to really move back to my hometown. Oh man, it was like day in and day out, it was just on me so much. Like, I gotta figure out a way to get back home. But I knew that I wanted to, set something up that pays my bills, that does what because I didn't know when I came back. Like, in my mind, I'm coming back and I'm doing just straight mission work.
Yeah.
I'm not working, I'm not doing nothing. So I need to have $1 million to the side, because how am I gonna take care of myself? And and I was used to some things. I had worked very hard. I had been in Greensboro at that time, 11, 12 plus years. But I paid attention to how you were just so excited about real estate. And I never forget, a couple months later, I ended up saying, you know what, I'm going back to Rockingham. And I came back. And I was talking to my business partner one day, and you and I had been chit-chatting every now and then once I moved back here.
Yeah.
But we hadn't talked. We didn't talk, because that's when you were really like soaking up the information. You were really going in, learning, and like you would share with me everything, because I think. In fact, I'm almost sure.
I was sharing
wholesale.
with you. Yeah. Oh yeah. I was sharing everything.
Everything.
And it was all wholesale at that time.
Absolutely, it was all wholesale. And my partner, my current business partner, here, my partner John, he came to me one day and he was like, "Hey man, have you ever heard of wholesale real estate?" And I'm like, "Wholesale real estate? That's all someone talks about on the phone. That's all he's talking about." And so I was like, "Yeah, man, I got the perfect guy." And we sat in his very office. I want to say this was 2019.
Nice.
We called you on three-way, put you on speakerphone or something.
Oh yeah.
And I asked him, I said, "Hey man, ain't what you been talking about is wholesale real estate?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, "Yeah." And I told my guy, I was like, "Yo, Sawan is the one. He's been going so hard with it that we gotta get into this. Like, we gotta get into this." And I transitioned literally out of everything I was doing. And I had created 6 figures for myself.
For sure.
In what I was doing in the cell phone industry, in the business industry that I was in. And I followed this man into real estate because he was so excited about it, and it was the information, and it was I'll be honest, it was the freedom to think for yourself.
For sure.
To create.
For sure.
Using your brain
For sure.
to create. When you're an intellectual being and you know that
For sure.
I got to use my brain to create for myself, and I felt like real estate, like, oh wow. And I think I remember our very first deal.
Yeah.
Our very first deal, you walked us through it. A house, there was a tornado, I think, that had touched down in this little area. And a large tree had fell on this house. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. I do. It was rough. It was a real rough one.
Yeah, it was real rough. The tree had fell through the house. My partner and I ended up getting the house literally for $750. And we were able to wholesale that house, I think somewhere around like $5,000.
Yeah.
But I mean, $750. We didn't pull a dime out of our pocket. And that was that seed that planted, like, wait a minute, I just made because I mean, $5,000 in 30 days is still $5,000 in 30 days.
Amen. Yeah.
It opened me up to saying, oh, yeah, I'm here to stay.
Yeah, and the wonderful part that I still like about wholesale is because with most entrepreneurial journeys, like the truck, you still have to invest in the authority, invest in the insurance, invest in the truck, and you haven't made any money yet, but you have put money out there. Yeah. And what I loved about the wholesaling is, and I think that you kind of got a glimpse of it on that day, was that if I need to come up with some money, this is a good way. This right here could do it. If I need to come up with something, whatever that might be. And did we do that deal together?
We did. Did.
I think I bought the buyer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I bought the buyer. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and she's cool. She ended up buying a bunch from us after that too. That's what's up. So that first deal opened up your eyes.
Yeah.
Now, I can't remember that attorney that you used on the first one. Did you continue to use him after that?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, because he was weird, and I think he felt like I feel like he almost tried to sabotage that deal. Because he even called me and was acting like he was doing something wrong.
Correct.
Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick, because that's a big thing.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. Especially it's your first deal. You know what I mean? Like, you had already found money success, so it's not like you had anything to take or from anybody. But just because of what we look like, and then also the small town, and the mentality of the small town, people try to put up a wall. Yeah. Was there anything? Did you get discouraged during that time, or did you think, well, maybe I need to change something, or did you find some encouragement through going through that, or what?
Well, I will tell you that being the first deal, it was discouraging, and it reminded me, and I think, like we said, God is in control of everything.
For sure.
I think I needed to be reminded of where I was and what I had just come back into.
Right.
I'll be honest to tell you that, living in Greensboro, I just hadn't experienced anything like that. I mean, and I'll be first to say, black, white, no matter what, I never experienced certain things living in Greensboro, doing business. Right. Money is green.
Right.
With that guy, what happened was, I think he was so blown away that these two young men figured out something new in real estate that's just not being done. And at that time, Wholesale was, you know, even all of your large names now, your large name teachers
Right.
were just getting started, you
Right.
know. So wholesaling at that time was like, we don't know what this is. What are you doing? And this guy was an attorney, and
Right.
he might not have made that much money that month.
Right.
And I think it came across his desk, and he's looking at like, wait a minute. So you telling me you guys don't have the money, you don't own this, and so you're middlemaning and you're making this much money? To the point where he literally, we left out, he went to the seller and said, hey, did you guys know they were getting this for the property?
He
And I'm
did. I
like,
remember that.
Yeah, man. And he was just, that was terrible. And I
couldn't believe he did that.
I couldn't believe he did that.
Because that was honestly the first time that had happened to me.
Yeah.
You know, and so when he said that, that's always everybody's fear about wholesaling, is because the seller does see how much you make.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And you don't realize that going into your first deal until, you know, you see the paperwork. And it's essentially, if the person is paying attention, you know, they'll see how much you make.
Correct.
And, you know, but that was absolutely mind-blowing how this guy was willing to sabotage, because they needed the money too. They wanted to get away from what they was in.
Right.
You know, I don't know what they were going through, but I remember them being happy, because I feel like you had talked to them or took a picture or shared something.
Yeah, they were. They were happy. They were older couple. And I think honestly they had actually been, I think FEMA at the time had come through and given them whatever they thought the house's value. So they had actually been paid for the house.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, you know, we were able to negotiate the deal, and I think that's why we were able to negotiate the deal. Is there was a tree sitting in the middle that like literally had fallen in the middle of the house. And that's why we were able to get it for, you know, so cheap. But it was just the whole process of, you know, learning the paperwork, learning your buyer agreement, learning your seller agreement, learning to get that, and learning in wholesale. If you're gonna do wholesale, you gotta find a wholesale friendly attorney, someone who is open to understanding or learning something that they just don't know about.
For sure.
Because there's nothing illegal about it.
Right.
This is just new age information. This is the innovation of real estate.
Right.
You know.
It's paperwork.
It's paperwork.
It's paperwork.
Yeah.
You know. Now, okay, let's talk about this, because I feel like after that happened, like I said, you have that epiphany about this is where you're from, and this is kind of that mindset that you're gonna have to deal with, not just from that one attorney, but from other people out there. You call me and says, hey, Sawan, I'm gonna make a shift. Okay, so I want you to talk about why you thought the mobile homes was gonna be why you thought that was gonna be the thing here, and then how it's been since then.
Okay, so what initially got me into mobile homes is, so fast forward, I had done, you know, a few deals, well, a good amount of deals. I had kind of, you know,
you was buying from the auction.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't doing.
Yeah.
You had picked up 10 lots.
Yeah. So I had started, I had saved enough money. I was in a position to, I started like going to real estate auctions, tax foreclosure auctions, bankruptcy auctions, and just auction companies that were auctioning off properties for people. What happened was I had come across a mobile home one time. This guy, he was trying to sell a mobile home, and he was trying to sell it to me for a number that, because I didn't know anything about mobile homes, I didn't think, you know, and I didn't do the research.
Yeah.
I went back, and I think I had some extra money. And I went back to just see, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna just buy a mobile home. Because I had ended up in one of those auctions with an open lot, and it was zoned that I could put a mobile home there. And I went back to the guy, he told me how much he had sold it for, and I'm like, you sold it for that much? He was like, yeah, and he let me know, hey, I didn't know, but this is what they're going for. And so this is around the time the pandemic is moving in, real estate prices are going up, and I had gone from being able to afford buying a $40,000 house to your rundown houses being $80K, $90K. They're selling for exponentially more, and I, you know, not having those cash people and you know, using other people's money. I didn't have those people in place yet, and I was using my own money. I couldn't compete with the large companies
that was coming from the outside, coming into these small cities.
Absolutely going up. And even in mobile homes, the rent was going up to where housing was going up.
Right.
So it made me realize that, okay, hey, there's a shortage on housing. So people are going to be happy to be housed where they can.
Right.
And I was looking at the price of a mobile home, and I was looking at the price of a house, and I'm like, oh, this is my niche. This is where I can still spend.
You was excited about it.
Man, super excited.
You was on another level, because that kind of, I don't know if you got stale for a few months, with real estate, but when you called me, you was on fire. You was in a new, everything was fresh and clear
absolutely.
now.
So that position that I had taken with that nonprofit organization, it is what opened me up to realizing that, oh wow, there's a real shortage. Like no one has anywhere to go. And so because I had bought some land, and I had bought some mobile homes in an auction, I had nowhere for them to go.
Yeah.
I was just buying stuff. I got so excited. I was in real estate. I had nowhere for them to go, and I ended up going to a mobile home park here locally. And I met the park manager.
I love that. So much faith. I'm just gonna buy them. I know this is it. I'm buying them.
I'm buying
no plan. I'm doing it.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm buying
I love that. That's what's up.
So I had went to the mobile home park because I didn't have anywhere to go, and I bought them from a guy in Asheboro, a guy that was closing a mobile home park. And so he sold them to me for a really dirt cheap price. And I'm like, I can't lose what I paid for them, even if I end up. So I had to move them. So I had to learn the logistics of moving, the paperwork when it comes to moving them. But what I did was I called a mobile home park, and I learned the entire mobile home process by going to a park first.
Yeah.
So no one taught me, but I had this property manager, this wonderful property manager, Martha, who walking me through like, hey, when you move it in, we already have septic tanks here. So I had to learn what a septic tank was. I had to learn about the plumber coming to do the plumbing, the rough end plumbing. I had to learn about the electrician coming to do the rough end electric. All of these things that you have to do in housing.
Right.
But this was my introduction to those things. You know, you don't just buy the mobile home and plug it in. You have all these different permits and inspections.
For sure.
And so I had learned enough about mobile homes to where I'm like, shoot, if I can get 900 in rent, well, that's, I don't know, status quo rent everywhere is different.
Hey man, it's all good.
But I'm seeing that the rent was the same, then I'm like, and I don't have to pay this lot rent fee for this rental if I buy my own land. So
they paying, so your tenants, you buy all of these mobile homes, right?
Remodel.
You reach out to a mobile home park. You get someone that's willing to help guide you through the process and move them onto their mobile home park, and you rent your mobile homes to someone else, and they pay the lot rent and they pay you rent.
So how it works is, and in some places it may differ, but it's basically the home and the address belongs to me. If I decide to rent it out, that's fine. So just say just say the lot rent is $300, and I'm charging my tenant $900.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at it like, hey, that's like paying a mortgage payment.
Right.
I don't have to get the whole 900. I'm getting the $600.
Exactly.
I'm using someone else's land, and it's affording me the $600 profit margin every month. And because these mobile homes are your 10, 15,000 in, 20,000 in, you're not so cash heavy into that now.
For
it's
sure.
all profit. You
For
own
sure.
it, and if you decide to buy land and end up moving it, that difference now becomes yours. So I got all my knowledge of just learning everything that needed to be done about a mobile home just because I had moved these first two mobile homes I bought, I moved them into the park. I learned all this different stuff, and then it opened my eyes and said, hey, if I go buy my own land and I got these mobile homes, then that difference in that profit margin is gonna make the difference in me buying my own land. My profit margin is and these are my debt-free assets that you teach. Like, hey, you better own one of these rentals, or you have as many debt-free rentals as you can have. And so when I got to that, then just knowing what it takes to, and I bought some terrible mobile homes, but I knew that all in I wouldn't be over 20,000.
Yeah.
So if I know I bought this home for $5,000 and
Yeah.
all in I'm in 25 grand, I know that at the end of the day, someone now would buy this same home who has their own land, who doesn't want to go, because not just only housing, real estate, but even mobile homes went up. Mobile homes have actually gone up probably higher as far as the terms of percentage wise than most, the housing market.
For sure.
Because they didn't fluctuate with the housing market. They're still kind of high as
Right.
the ups and downs, because with
Right.
those, the interest rates with those companies that finance those are normally higher anyway.
For sure.
So because interest rates have gone up, they can't really take the prices of them down.
For sure.
Manufacturing is, so people are, instead of, paying $80,000, $90,000 for a new mobile home, hey, I'll buy this one and be all in at $30K and just maybe get a personal loan.
So walk us through this real quick, because I'm not mobile home, and I've always, anytime I talk to a, because I'm down for a mobile home park, okay,
Yeah, right.
and I'm looking for a park,
We about to buy
and I would
one.
love to talk to you about that park. So walk us through. So, because typically what we do as real estate investors, when we're looking for a house, we can go on, the county website and we can pull county data and look up the owner and call them like that. But technically with a mobile home, we won't be able to find those people on the county because somebody else owns the land. So how do you find these people to have mobile homes so that way you can make offers too?
Okay, so this is the sauce.
Yeah.
This is the, because I didn't know it at first. One of my biggest avenues of getting homes was calling around, Googling mobile home parks in every city, around you, all of your major cities, anywhere within an hour or so, because you still got to get the homes moved. But I would call around to these mobile home parks and you ask a simple question. Hey, do you guys have any homes that you're getting rid of? And because a lot of homes were dated to the point where they don't want to keep putting more, not that they're so dated you can't move them, not that they're even super old, it's just some parks they want to have, homes less than 20 years old.
For sure.
But less than 20 years old here would be still a 2003 mobile home, which is going to be a steal in this market if you can get it for nothing.
Right.
And it's still going to have vinyl siding.
Right.
And with an upgrade, it's going to actually look just like a new 2023 home.
For sure.
So I learned how to call to these mobile home parks, and talk to these people, just develop relationships with them. Hey,
now, other than just a year, why else wouldn't they want to just keep that house there? Well, do they own the mobile homes, or how does that work? Because typically a park is going to get lot rent, and then somebody else brings their trailer and put it there. So just for everybody to understand, how would they sell you the mobile home if somebody bought the mobile home to their lot?
So, okay, yeah, that's big. So what happens is most of the time when you organically call or bring a home to a mobile home park, just say you already own it and you want to live there. Most people in those cases, they've moved from other states and they're just trying to get acquainted. And so they know that they can afford the home, but they haven't found a good deal on land. So when you bring it there, like my first one, there was an incentive that we'll move it for you. And a move ranges. Moves can be anywhere from $2,500, $4,500, depending on where it's going to, how far it's going.
For sure.
So on and so forth. So the incentive was they would bring it in the park, they would pay that for me if I signed a contract of 5 years, meaning that I have to keep this home in their park for 5 years.
Right.
So that's one of the main reasons that in a lot of cases, people will get rid of them because they no longer have a obligation to keep them there.
Yeah.
And maybe the previous tenant who owned it, they've gone, they've moved, they sold it.
So people will just leave their trailer
People really leave. It blew my mind when I found that people would leave such an asset that they paid their money for.
Interesting.
Yeah, people will leave. And in a lot of cases too, what people do is delinquencies. They might owe the park lot rent.
Yeah.
And so what they'll do is they'll settle with the park and they'll sell it to the park.
For sure.
And the park might have $1,000 in it.
Yeah.
And as the park owner, hey, if I could make, if I could sell you this for a quick $6,000, I own the park.
Right.
And I know I'm gonna bring somebody right back in this lot.
Right.
I know I bought it for $1,000. I'm making $5,000 right here today because I get it out of here.
For sure.
That's gonna give me at least, or maybe my down payment for
sure.
a newer home, to bring a newer home in. So yeah,
For sure.
people will leave them. And some parks even have, you know, your higher tier parks are gonna have like, I guess maybe some type of restrictive covenants.
Yeah.
Where, hey, a home can't be older than 15 years. There's some parts that are that heavy.
Yeah.
And there's some parts that, you know, they don't care.
So how does the sale process work? So you call them, they say, yeah, we got 2 that we want to move. You agree on price.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step? Are y'all signing a purchase agreement? Y'all going because technically in a real estate transaction in North Carolina, we go to an attorney. Some states y'all go to a title company. You know. So what happens next? Do y'all even sign a purchase agreement, or you just go give them cash, or what?
Well, so mobile homes are literally the first word, mobile homes, just like cars. They come with not a deed, but a title.
Yeah.
They come with a title the same way a car does. So this transaction literally takes place at the DMV, license plate agency. You have your title just how you have it with a car. For the sake of seller and buyer transaction, most people nowadays, you sign something.
Yeah.
You sign something, hey, I'm buying this as is. I've inspected the home. I've gone through. I'm cool with whatever. I'll move it. Now, other people have other instances where maybe like a home might be sitting on the lot and they have other things. But the big deal is literally transferring that title over into their name, like you do a car, and getting it moved. It's just that simple.
For sure.
No, most people don't sell them used homes with warranty or anything. That's just where you bring your contractor, your carpenter, and you look at everything that's wrong. Hey, this is what I'll pay for it.
Nice.
And that works.
That's what's up. I love it. I love it. So essentially, it's just like wholesaling, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
It sounds like it's just like wholesaling because you're going to come in and offer, you know, somebody they need to sell, don't necessarily want to sell, they need to sell it to get out of the park for whatever, you know, regulation, or they see the benefit in making that quick profit. And then are you always keeping them, or are you sometimes selling them just as fast as you purchased them, or?
So just like yourself, in the market of housing, you have people that you know will pay a certain, or you kind of know that if someone sold you a house for $5,000 a day, you buy it just because you know that, hey, I could sell this house tomorrow to anybody.
Yeah.
So, and you know that based on, you know, where the market is.
Yeah.
So just like that with mobile homes, I kind of like have in my head now, I know what and you get these the same way, like we go on Zillow, Zillow with housing, seeing what the comps are. Well, guess what? I go to Facebook Marketplace.
Right.
And I see what people have housing, have mobile homes listed for, comparable homes.
For sure.
From year to condition. And when I see that number, I'm like, oh, okay, where the difference is $20,000.
I love it.
In between,
I love it.
And so the market is high now. It's really high. Like I remember,
I've seen it go up on mobile homes too.
It's the used ones, the run down ones.
Yeah, because no, it's crazy because, you know, when housing prices went up, you know, mobile homes just follow right behind it.
Absolutely.
Because it's, you know, mobile homes are considered affordable homes, but they still keep up. You know, they're right behind housing. So I've seen it too. Now I don't want to give too much away because I'm gonna try to convince Kendrick to tell us a little bit more and share a little bit more about how the mobile home game works. But real quick before we end this one, tell us about a deal, okay? And then tell us how much money you make, real quick before we end here.
On a
mobile home. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my last mobile home, and I try to get them gone within 30 days.
Nice.
So that I know, hey, if all else fails, this is what I made.
For sure.
I normally double
Nice.
whatever. So I just
We're gonna leave it right there.
Yeah,
We're gonna leave it right there. Actually, we're gonna go see one of Kendrick's houses real quick. So if you guys want to stay tuned, and check out what one of these mobile homes look like, so that way you guys can get into the business. I want you guys to click this link right here, so that way you can check out the next video. Okay? We'll see you guys on the next one.